Hey everyone, as you know, the match results are out and congratulations to everyone who matched. To those who didn't, let's make sure the CVs are ready by the time September comes. Today, I'm going to interview one of my dear friends. He's a neurology resident at Emory University with step scores of 259, 261 and 252 in step 1, 2 and 3. He comes from one of the most prestigious institutes in India and had a rank 1 of AFMC Pune, in AFMC Pune and a rank of 68 in AIMS entrance exam. So today we have with us Dr. Avi, who's ready for an interview and some advices for the upcoming neurology residents. Ravi, how are you? And how's San Francisco?
I'm good, Rishabh. Good to see you. San Francisco is good. Currently on my vacation on the West Coast, but happy to be here to talk to you all.
Yeah, well, great. I wanted to thank you for taking out time for our viewers and for this interview. I know it's really hectic with all that traveling, and I'm spoiling your vacation probably, but really thank you for taking out time to help the applicants.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be able to help um, do things differently that I feel I did wrong and do the same things again, which I feel that I did right.
Okay, great. So I have a few questions for you that our viewers suggested us. My first question is, how is a neurology residency applicant different from other residency applicants, specifically internal medicine?
Okay. So how I like to think about the residency process is in a simple model. So sure, residency at your foreign program is different from a USMLE or a US residency. But even amongst US residencies, just because of the sheer number of seats you have for internal medicine, the game becomes very different for internal medicine residents compared to other residencies. Even if you look at the NRMP match data, you'll see much more number of medicine residents match compared to other specialities, just because there's so many more opportunities for medicine people. So when it comes to something like neurology, the game is not just to be great at your scores and do everything right. That is one part of it. But you also have to come across as someone who is passionate for that specialty. You have to come across as someone that you would not be happy doing anything else but that specialty. Why are you the right fit for that specialty? Doing research is not just enough, but having research in the direction of what you want to do is important. Having other hobbies and a personality is important for any specialty. But when you're talking about neurology, I need to look through your personal statement, through your CV, and it needs to scream to me that this guy is passionate towards neurology. That makes the game much more easier for you, because everything else can be taught. No one is expecting you to be a neurologist already to match into a neurology residency. That can be taught. You will be learning that in your next 4 years. But what cannot be instilled in you is that passion, is that love for neurology. So making sure that comes across in your CV, in your application. For example, in my case, I do have a YouTube channel which is called Medically Mediocre, and I do continuously make videos regarding residency, but also specifically to teach neurology to residents and to students. So that highlighted in my CV that, oh, this guy is passionate towards neurology. I'm also the editor of a magazine, a medical magazine that is called Brainstorm. That itself is another reason that comes across as, oh, this guy's in love with neurology. So you got to find every little opportunity to express that, oh, I am the right fit for neurology because I'm in love with that subject. Besides all the other regular stuff that you need to do for every other residency, especially internal medicine.
Wow, that's actually really good advice. I know they look for passion in neurology and they look for your specific interest towards a field.
Exactly.
Is there a advice you would like to give the applicants for this year
Um, so
or
so
for the
the
applicants in general, like anyone who's preparing right now?
so the application game is something that is continuously changing. It always becomes more difficult and less difficult depending upon what the statistics of the other applicants are around you who are applying that year. But I think one thing that needs to be always taken into account is, yes, whatever stage you are at, take it one thing at a time. If you haven't given your step exams yet, you want to make sure that you get best scores, because that will make things easier ahead. If you're someone who already has scores, whatever your scores are, it's never the end of the game. You can always improve on your application, but having good scores opens a lot many doors for you. Once you have those scores, it's still not the end of the game, because a lot of people around you will have good scores. What I want in an applicant when they're matching is for this person to have good communication skills, because I am looking at you as someone who's going to be able to communicate effectively to the patients. That is what I get in during an interview season, an interview session, a gist of you. The other few things that I feel people usually do let go or sometimes spend too much time on are the other components of your CV, including your personal statement, including your application as a whole. Sometimes people either spend too little time on the personal statement, it being like, oh, it's just another document, but it needs to be very beautifully written because it's the only document that's in complete hands of yours, right? If it has grammatical mistakes, or if it's not coming across as someone you're passionate for, it will just be a reason for me to feel that there are other better people out there. At the same time, some people spend too much time over it. You have to understand that a PS is one part of the whole application, right? So you need to balance everything. The same thing with your letters of recommendation. Some people are always running behind, like, we need letters of recommendation from the highest university, which is sometimes practically not possible. And you have to understand it's not always what's on the letterhead. It's also important what's written inside the letter. If someone is vouching for you, if someone's coming across as someone is like, I worked with this person and we really love him. Like, for one of my letters, I was told that they've never read a letter like that. The letter specifically mentioned that, oh, this is the best student, so passionate for neurology that we've ever come across. And during my interview, I was told that. I realized how much of a difference does the content of the letter make, because that instills confidence in the people who are choosing you for an interview. They're like, oh, if someone can say that about you, they trust you, because no one will go on board telling something like that about someone until and unless they trust you, especially in a country like United States. So make sure that you're looking at the bigger picture, at the same time not getting overwhelmed by every little step. Everyone will have different struggles. Someone is struggling with a visa, someone is struggling with an older year of graduation, someone is struggling with uh, relatively low step scores. The good thing about USMLE is because we look at the overall picture, you can make up for things you are not excellent at, but at the same time, knowing that your overall picture needs to be elevated for you to have the best chance.
Well, yeah, that's pretty sure. Everyone has his own struggles or her own struggles. Um, Emory University is, a name that every neurologist and, in fact, every applicant's known. It's a prestigious institute and a top-notch university. Could you give a piece of advice to applicants who have a ambition to match at such a high level of university?
Um, Thank you, Rishabh. I honestly, when I was applying, I put my best foot forward. I was hoping for the best, but I had absolutely no idea that I would possibly be matching at a university like Emory. But I think that's the beauty of it. Knowing that you do your best and then things can happen. Because at the end of the day, I very confidently believe great students and great residents make great university programs and great programs in general. So you got to keep that belief inside you. You cannot let that die. You cannot feel like I'm not good for a place. Sure, there are some criteria. Some places do not take international students just as a logistical hurdle, but that things like that shouldn't let you make feel less of yourself. You still come across as someone who is passionate towards your specialty. The other thing you want to do is, I feel like a lot of international students undersell themselves. They're like, oh, we might not be good enough for this place. For example, if I was the president of a national international organization called Asian Medical Students Association, and I did a lot of work. I literally was involved in more than 500 to 600 volunteer activities, national, international, over the last 3 years. rather than coming across as someone who's boastful, you need to be someone who comes across as confidently affirmative of things that you've done. Because you have only one shot. Your CV, your PS, your interview is the only one shot of letting those people know who you are. You want to come across as that person who's done stuff if you have done stuff. I always used to carry my magazine called Brainstorm with me during my interviews. And whenever I got an opportunity, they were like, tell me one thing you're most proud of. I had that with me at all times. And that made a lot of difference. Seeing a smile on their face that, oh, this guy has done this stuff. And the way you tell you've done things is not by showing certificates, it's by talking about those things. The glimmer in your eyes, the shine in your eyes is all the proof they need for them to know that you've done something. So I'd mentioned things that I did, I was proud of because I could talk at length about them. Some interviews, they wanted me to talk about my experience as a national leader in different organizations. Some interviews just wanted to know my about my love for cricket or what do I do for my medical education passion, which included my YouTube channel. So I think the trick is to be very truthful of what you do and also not hide things or not uh, keep things away, thinking that you might come across as boastful. There's a very intricate balance that you need to achieve. Like, oh yes, if I have done 10 papers, I need to talk like someone who's done 10 papers. Getting those publications without doing stuff doesn't really matter in my head, because if you can't talk about it, you have not done it for me, right? So making sure that you've done, then you talk about it. And if you've not done it, then you don't even need to mention it. So just understanding that your one look, your one interview is going to be the window into your soul for them. So you want to come across as the most confident guy who believes in himself or herself, including the fact that you're an international graduate. You have to come across as someone who will add to the program, who will add experience from a totally different world into their program. It needs to come across as a positive to them instead of a negative, which you might feel in your head like, oh, you're going to a new program. Yes, it's going to be a struggle in the sense it's going to be a new system that you're going to be using, but you will learn it. Instead, you will bring so much more experience that you have brought from your country into a new system. And that's what I feel when I work at Emory. I am learning the new things. But yes, what I'm also bringing is what I've learned while I was in my med school back in India. So it's a win-win situation, right? Looking at the positives instead of the negatives and letting that instill confidence within you during the interview and even beyond the interview is, I think, what made me match here. And I absolutely believe if I can match at Emory, everything is fair game. Everything is fair game. If you believe in yourself, you can make it to the highest potential option that works well with your statistics. So keep believing in yourself and definitely apply to all the places that you think that you have a shot at. So all the very best.
That's really amazing advice. I admire how you're always ready to help others, maybe through your YouTube channel or just your Instagram page. You're always giving advice and tips that are really helpful. I know you're traveling, you took out time for us. I really thank you for that. Before we go, I have another question for you.
Mhm.
Is there a advice, some do's and don'ts you want to give to the newly match applicants who are coming into neurology?
Okay. So I think I have some advice that I have for almost everyone who's coming in. Trust me, this is advice that I have learned myself the hard way, the easy way, or things that I have done. If you've already matched and you're waiting for getting into your desired program, obviously, I hope you're not stressing anymore. This is your destiny wherever you're going for the next 3 to 4 years. Accept it and trust me, nothing is a bad option anymore. Sure, grass is always greener on the other side, but accept what you've gotten now. Make sure that you give it your best shot because the confidence, the positivity that you bring to the table is going to be so infectious and it's going to help you thrive much more. Until you wait, there are a few things that I suggest that I did during my time, and I've made a video on it recently on my YouTube channel called Medically Mediocre. Um, but just to mention, I want you guys to spend as much time as you can with your family. because sometimes we all live so much away from them, and it's just going to get harsher with residency. Your vacations are going to get so much more smaller. It's not going to be easy to come back to your home country, especially if it's India. It's the opposite side of the world. So spend quality time with them, plan a vacation, long vacations. I went to Mexico before my residency started for a month. I stayed with a Mexican family, made lots of friends. I think that was the best experience that I ever had. Also, it helped me learn Spanish, which is very useful in the US. So, yo hablo español poquito. Um, the third thing that I would suggest is definitely pursue your passions and hobbies. Um, I was in love with cricket and writing poetry. So I restarted doing those before my residency so that I could continue those things when I was at Emory doing my residency. So even now I'm part of poetry clubs here. And I think all of those things, cricket that I still play, is because I started that before residency started, when I had that time to get myself back in shape. Um, because residency is going to be hard, working is going to be rough. You want those passion projects to happen simultaneously for you. One last thing that I think is super useful: a lot of us have been preparing for interviews too much now that we've lost touch with clinical practice. When you get back to residency, it's going to be like crazy interning again. The system's a little different. You need to know the basics. What are you expected to do? What is pre-rounding versus rounding versus how do you staff patients with attendings in the US? Very basics of medications. Please know the brand names, or be ready to know the brand names once you are in the US. More importantly, you learn everything. Just be ready to learn. Be ready. Be open to allowing yourself that you might not know everything. And you will find all sorts of people, all sorts of attendings, great seniors, some not so great colleagues, because everyone's in their own struggle. Just know you are at the center of your own story, and you will be a much better doctor by the end of the year. Don't be too harsh on yourself, and accept the first year of medicine as one of the most beautiful years, even if you're becoming a neurologist, because as a primary service on neurology, you will still need to manage diabetes and hypertension. So I actually take pride and joy when I'm dealing with my medicine patients during my first year, because when I'm on neurology and I know all the medicine stuff, you know who the hero is going to be at that time. If you know all the medicine, it's going to be you. So make sure you enjoy your first year, and neurology is going to happen very soon to you.
Oh, thank you so much for taking time out for us and this wonderful interview. It's been a pleasure interviewing you, and I hope we meet again pretty soon.
Absolutely,
Have a
Rishabh.
great vacation.
All
Yeah,
the best, everyone, and see you very soon.
yeah. Ciao, gracias. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope that video provided valuable insights for your journey. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And check out our website for details on how we can guide you to a successful match.